I've been told we're live. So hello everyone, my name is Carkoon. I'll be running LEGO Star Wars 2 80% free today. Really happy to be able to show this off because this is one of my favorite runs. And I think without further ado, we can just go ahead and start. And go. So right as we start, you'll see that we'll load into a familiar place, the Mos Eisley spaceport, Cantina. And the goal of 80% is to beat all 18 levels in the game, the main story levels, in episode 4, 5, and 6. So this game follows the events of those 3 movies. And what you saw me do right there, right before entering the level, was call in player 2, because this category allows for 2 players to be used at once, as long as one player controls them. And I called them in right there because after this cutscene, as soon as the level starts, the camera pan actually prevents you from calling in player 2, which we'll use to build a buildable object just a little bit faster. So yeah, that's exactly where you wouldn't be able to call in for just a couple seconds. Just saves a little bit of time. Being able to use a second player makes puzzles like those, or sections like those, a lot easier to do, and also faster, since you don't have to use one player to pull the levers. You're gonna see that being able to control 2 players is going to save a lot of time throughout the run, such as here, where you can build both objects at once. Saves quite a bit of time. I'm also going to be shooting prematurely into here, because there are 2 boxes and they'll be spawning studs. And I'm going to try to avoid picking up studs as much as possible, especially blue ones, because of how the game treats the first status screen, you can't skip it at all. And by having 0 studs at the end of the level, you save about 8 seconds and not having to watch that part of the status screen. So I'm going to be doing a particular route to make sure I get 0 studs at the end of the level. Once again, won't be too saving a little bit of time, pushing 2 boxes at once. Haven't really gotten any of these so far, which is good. Looking very promising for a 0 stud route here. And coming right up here, there's going to be probably the first real trick of the game. So normally you would have to grab all these stormtroopers and throw them into the pit for the rebel friend to open up the bridge by using the lever over there. But if you drop C-3PO into the pit and grab him at just the right time, you'll be able to grab him and just put him on the other side to use the panel. Here I'm gonna switch to the rebel friend, and he's going to die, hopefully. Then short. So I can drop him out and have him be on 0 studs. There we go. Drop out second player as well and switch them to R2. Though I am going to have to kill them again, unfortunately. So grab a couple studs. Gonna shoot that other as well, so that those studs despawn by the time I get to them. And grab all these studs as well. Call on the second player, and use R2 to use all these panels. This is looking quite good so far. With the proper routing, although never mind, I just realized that we are not on so-called ghost hearts that we were with player 1 for a while, which you get from actually no, we're fine. The whole point of getting ghost hearts was to make sure that when you swap to another character, or when you swap to another character while you have ghost hearts, your hearts are immediately set to 1. And what I wanted to do there was make sure that I was on 1 heart for the stormtroopers to shoot me so that I would lose all my studs. But I still made it work, so we'll be saving about 8 seconds, but given how the rest of the level went, we'll probably be about even. Yeah, good start so far. Yeah, that's the end of the level. Just as I said before, this status screen is the only one we can skip. Every other status screen will be able to be skipped. So that's why having 0 studs saves about 8 seconds and not having to see that part of the status screen. You'll see the characters you unlock. Normally this would count down and also show the progress of the True Jedi meter that you would otherwise have. And just for the sake of marathon safety, even though this game doesn't tend to crash, I'm just gonna save just in case. Normally you would cancel the save there because that saves time and not having to wait for loads. Since this game is currently timed with RTA on the boards, though that might be subject to change, because we do have a load remover for this game now, thanks to Kessel, another prominent LEGO runner. And there's our old friend, Ben Kenobi. We'll be using him quite a bit. Now though, I'm just going to be shooting this rock until it collapses and switch to Ben. And this is another trick that we're gonna do coming up right here. By jumping up on this ledge, and then on top of here, you can just walk out of bounds. Because that's how the game works, I suppose. And if we navigate carefully out of bounds here, making sure to stay at the right elevation, we can grab our first red brick, or power brick, as it's referred to in this game. And as the hint says, you can unlock a cheat by collecting these power bricks. And the particular cheat that we'll be using is called Fast Force, which helps us force forcible objects faster, which helps in a couple levels. Probably most particularly carkoon, which we'll see in a little while. We'll also be grabbing another power brick, although that'll be quite a bit later. It'll be after this episode is done. So we got about 5 more levels to go until done. Just going to be using 1P2C yet again, just to push these boxes. You can also get a little force push on R2 here, just to make it slightly faster, or not. Normally you would. Just going to be pulling levers at the same time, using both players. Also gonna kill a couple of Jawas here, just to make sure they don't zap C3PO here. And funnily enough, by just forcing C3PO like that, well, that's unlucky. By simply forcing C3PO there, he just gets added to your party for some reason. So, just do that. And that way you don't have to do any of the puzzle at all. I was gonna stutter here a bit. Kind of unavoidable, but not that bad. Nothing wrong with the game, really. And here I'm just gonna make sure to jump on the edge there, so that it won't fall into the quicksand. And here's another jump. You can just jump straight across. No need to do any forcing of objects or anything. And just to end it off, you can also just slide up here for some reason, which pretty much skips the entire section. And coming up is going to be our first hook for walls. We're going to use this speeder and put loot on top of it. And we're just going to position loot right by this door here. Let the speeder catch up, and there we go, first try. And that's the end of the level. Pretty good Junland. I'm really happy with that. There'll be more wall clips in the run for sure, so keep your eyes peeled for those. Luke having a bit of a mishap there. And as you can see, we could just skip right through that status screen. Now we're on to third level of episode 4, Masashi Spaceport. It can be quite tricky to do right, but it's definitely one of the more fun levels. Poor Stormtrooper. Right, so beginning with the level immediately, we're gonna put Obi-Wan on, player 2 on top of the speeder, and we're going to let him jump up here and drop out player 1 immediately. And by jumping over this wall, by jumping on some collision, we can just head straight on into the next transition. And here we're going to be doing yet another trick by pushing Obi-Wan through the wall, just like that. And this also has an added benefit of not spawning any enemies here whatsoever, because we did this with player 2. So you can just head straight on through the door. Normally if enemies spawn there, that door would be closed until you kill them all, so by them simply not spawning, the game just thinks you've done that and it opens the door. Right, pawn shot first, as we all know. Alright, so this is the first time we get to play as Han. So we're just going to be doing these jump rolls because it's faster to do so. And coming up right here is going to be yet another skip. It's going to be delaying our jump to try and get on top of the ledge over there, above the tarp. Perfect. And... oh, this is going to be tight. I might miss this actually. Oh yeah, I did miss that unfortunately, but there is a backup. So normally, if you're fast enough and you manage to do that, then you can jump into the transition before the door closes. But if that doesn't happen, you're gonna have to do this the intended way. It's fine though. Simply jump across here and use this lever. And this is gonna push out a bomb. We just simply have to push this along the track. All the way to the door. And then shoot it. And that will open the door. It's unfortunate time loss, but it happens. There we go. So what we'll be doing now is trying to lure this creature towards us. I unfortunately don't know its name, I'm very sorry. Simply leap up here and head towards the door. And just to end off the level, we have yet another skip. Lots of skips in this game. And we're going to be positioning C3PO around here and simply hit him once. And by doing so, you can just infinitely force him for some reason. So he's going to be going here. We're going to call him in, pass the trigger for this fight to start, and that's the end of the level. Normally, if you pass through that area, you'll be triggering the fight with this Imperial spy, which takes about 2 minutes, roughly. So that's a pretty big time save by being able to avoid that. Right. That means we're heading into the 4th level, which is rescue the princess. Obviously rescuing Leia. Just gonna let you enjoy the Lego humor at its finest. Han Solo somehow manages to pass off as a stormtrooper. Right, immediately as I begin this level, I'm going to swap Han to Ben Kenobi, and also let Han Solo just jump ahead here. I'm gonna let him use the lever to get a stormtrooper helmet, just to keep the stormtroopers de-aggroed during the next room. And here I'm also going to try and do an out-of-bounds trick, where if you simply turn in at the right time, you can go past the def trigger and go under the map like this. And because the transition to the next part of the level is right into the store, if you just jump into it, and just do that. Going to be jump rolling with Han here, just for some faster movement. And normally, you would have to... and will show up here. And these stormtroopers will be shooting her. And normally you would shoot these and then you would force down the bridge. But in LEGO Star Wars 2, for whatever reason, if you're precise enough, you can just jump across this pit. Might take a couple tries, but I'll do my best. Oh, that was really close. It's nerve-wrackingly close. There we go. Took a couple attempts, but we made it through. And because we did this with Luke, not that I think it's possible with any other character, but this means that Han Solo still has his helmet, which means we can use it to access this panel and head on right through. Yet again, using 1P2C, we can multitask this so that Han jumps over here, and while Luke uses the turnstile. So you can really see how this 1P2C adds up over the course of the run. Oh, that is really unlucky. I wasn't quite able to use the panel. Let's just clear out the room of any stormtroopers, and we're gonna have to get back over here and use stormtrooper dispenser here. Could be worse. Still not ideal, but it'll be fine. We're just going to beeline towards the room where Leia's being held captive. Right over here. Simply use 1P2C yet again to just touch all buttons, like so. That's the end of the level. Also throwing down a bone there. Just to lure Chewbacca into the sewage pit. The sewage drain. Right. Now this is one of the more broken levels in Episode 4, Death Star Escape. We'll be having a lot of tricks to do. One of them involving lag. So for those who watched the Jedi Survivor race for this run, they did talk about having strats that depended on lag, and this game has them too. Plenty of them, in fact. So I guess I could take this opportunity to mention some version differences between LEGO Star Wars 2, because there are a couple. I'm running LEGO Star Wars 2 on PC, and compared to Xbox, which is the fastest version, there are a couple of lag clips that you can't actually do on PC, and a couple different other strats. And as such, loses a bit of time, but this is actually one of the lag clips that you can do. And so by pushing this platform, and pushing it such as that Han gets stuck there, you can actually just alt-tab out of the game and alt-tab back in, and he's through the wall. So by doing this, we're going to line ourselves up pretty specifically to hit this transition, and that was really clean. Just going to be doing some jump rolling to get to this next buildable object, and let Chewbacca use the lever. Shoot these stormtroopers so they don't lose their helmet. And just head on right through. And in the next room that we have coming up very, very soon, we're also going to be doing another leg trick. Though there is a different variant for this that I'm going to use, which is also the version that is used in the complete saga, because the trick is the exact same. So by dropping out player 2 and also switching my video settings like so, it's going to set my FPS to the lowest, or my refresh rate to the lowest that I have on my PC, which is 40 Hz. And very conveniently, 40 FPS is exactly what this trick needs to work. So by simply wedging yourself in between here, you should be able to just clip on right through. Though it does require a proper setup. I'll be trying my best. There we go. And by doing this, you can simply jump up through this, because the out of bounds in this game has layers that you can sort of move between. And by simply jumping up, you can just descend the whole thing. And there is a backup stormtrooper combat dispenser right here, which I'm going to be using. Okay, that was a mistake. I wasn't quite meant to grapple over. I wanted to build this grapple floor instead, so that we can grapple over to the other side and use the stormtrooper panel. Just like that. Now, unfortunately, in the complete saga, which is probably the version of LEGO Star Wars that most people are most familiar with, there is a trick called Falconless in this level, where if you go back far enough into the level while having this part of the level loaded, it deloads the Falcon and all the enemies that appear in this room. And the trigger for the level still exists right where the Falcon would be, and so you can simply jump into the pit and it'll end the level, but we can't really do that in LEGO Star Wars 2, so we're gonna have to do this entire section. But of course as fast as we can. Which is why I'm going to drop that player 2 there, so player 2 can simply drop in closer as R2-D2. And since R2-D2 is quite slow, we're just going to be pushing him with our player here, just to make it slightly faster. Tried to jump in early there, but that didn't quite work. We're going to be using this little vehicle just to activate those buttons, and then switch our player to C3Q, so that we can both E and R2 can walk over to the respective panels. This is because we want to raise the Millennium Falcon up. And there is one more lever that we haven't pulled yet that we need to pull for the Millennium Falcon to get up. Which is this one right up here. And with that we're free to kill all the stormtroopers and later in the level. Once again, trying to use 122C just to make it slightly faster. But the cart seems to be getting in the way. Alright, and that means we're at the end of the level. quite visibly distraught there. And since there are 6 levels in each episode, chapter, wait, no, episode, yes, that means that we're at the last level of episode 4, which is Rebel Attack. Which, much like the rest of the levels in episode 4, is filled with skips. We'll be starting with this fairly long cutscene. Seems like the task of blowing up the Death Star was too great a task for one of the Rebel pilots. Alright. Just gonna be blowing up that thing with a torpedo as quickly as I can. We have another little section of blowing up torpedoes here, but... And normally you would blow up all of these in each of the 3 rooms. But you actually don't need to, because we're going to be skipping one of them here. And, well, conversely, all 3, but by simply lining yourself up here and backflipping, you can drop and play one behind that wall and go out of bounds, because one of the walls there isn't quite solid. And so that lets you go into the transition for the next room. And here's yet another skip. By simply lining yourself up, you can avoid going back into the transition and get behind some collision there. Which also lets you skip the 3rd room. Missing that trick is really punishing because it means you have to go back to the 2nd room to try the out of bounds again, since you haven't blown up the barrier. Alright, and this is the very last section of the level as well. Going to be hovering over these hatches to open up these turrets we're going to be shooting. And then simply shoot a torpedo into the center of the Death Star to end the level. Wilhelm Scream, classic. Right, and that concludes episode 4. Now, normally during a speedrun you would save cancel up until this point, and then save here and exit. And the reason we do this is because Um, there's an end cutscene after you finish the story, and because of this, it's faster to just reset the game after you finish the level, because what's it? The end cutscene would take longer than it takes to reset the game. But that leads us to episode 5, and as I said earlier, we've grabbed one power brick so far, but Half Battle has the second power brick that we'll grab during the run, which is self-destruct. And self-destruct doesn't sound very useful, but as you'll get to see, it will prove quite useful, especially in carkoon. There are a couple other levels where self-destruct is very useful, such as in most of episode 5. You can save a little bit of time in Escape from Echo Base, which is the level after this. So we'll be doing episode 6 first, since those levels benefit from having fast force the most. But also because the timing ends for this category when on the final frame when you lose control of the player when you complete the last level of the 18 levels that you need to complete. And because the end cutscene for episode 5, the last level of episode 5, is the longest, we choose to end there. That's somewhat of a convoluted explanation, I'm sorry for that. But obviously to purchase these power bricks, we're going to need quite a bit of studs, so what we're going to choose to do here is try to get as many studs as possible from off battle so that we have enough. Normally I would check how many studs I have, but I forgot to do that, so we're just going to have to hope that we get enough. So I'm going to play it safe with the studs. So here we see kind of a bit of a skip here. This is to grab the red brick, the power brick, that I mentioned earlier. You get a first try. Why that works exactly, I have no idea. I'm not going to complain though, because self-destruct does save quite a lot of time in some of the levels. And just like in Rebel Attack, we're going to backflip there to put our second player behind there so they can grab the power brick. Just head on back and finish the rest of the level. Alright, we should be good for studs, but I'm just going to make sure that we are by destroying these. And yet again, we can do another backflip just to send our other player through. And we can also do a side flip to get over this barrier. So that eliminates the need to use any bombs to blow up these barriers. Which means we're at the final section of the level, where we'll be killing waves of enemies. Now sadly, unlike in the Complete Saga, which there will be a free-play race between Saber and Deblahi, we can actually use an extra called Vehicle Smart Bomb, which makes this section a whole lot easier, because that means you can simply blow up all these enemies by pressing the B button on your controller. But sadly we don't have that luxury, so we're just gonna have to kill them with our blaster shots. Which makes it take quite a bit longer. Because these ATs take about 4 hits to kill. Sadly, RNG is a factor in these waves as well. Taking this quite a bit of time from RNG alone. Alright, we're still missing 2. There's 1. I'm gonna have to see where the other is. There it is. Alright. We have 2 ATSTs to defeat as well. In order to do that, we need to wrap around them like so, and then use a bomb to blow them up. Fortunately, our second player grew up there. That should be fine. Should be able to blow up the ATST in time. Just gonna wrap the second one as well. Use yet another bomb. Like so. That means we're on the final wave now, where we'll encounter all enemies that we did before, and an ATST to top it off. Seems like this wave is going a lot better though. It's gonna be on the bomb long. Nice. Now we just have a couple of enemies left to clean up. There we go. And that's off battle. Now we should be good on the studs. We need exactly 45,000 studs in order to purchase both self-destruct and fast force. Just going to... Oh yes, we have plenty. So we're just going to go back into the cantina in order to purchase these and then move on to episode 6. Since we want to finish on episode 5. Because of how the timing works. Alright. Good to go. Going to be calling player 2 in again, because I want them to be called in at the beginning of the level. Just to do some small 1P2C. This is a technique that stands for 1 player 2 controllers. Since I'm controlling both players at once. Poor guy. So this is Jabba's palace. Going to be starting off the level with a small little puzzle. Gonna let Leia build this little platform. And let Chewbacca shoot this thing. Whatever it is. Not quite sure myself. And we're gonna let Chewbacca build the stereo, and we're gonna see why in a little second. We're gonna have these Gamorreans rock out this very cool remix of the Imperial March, while we let Leia put on this bounty hunter helmet, which lets us use this panel. And we're gonna use it for one more thing as well, because this bounty hunter helmet lets us use thermal detonators, which will prove very useful for blowing up silver Lego objects that we need to progress the level. As you can see, there's a silver object right there, which we're going to be blowing up later. And before I forget, I'm also going to activate these extras, or cheats, as they're also referred to. And by very precisely throwing that bomb and manually detonating it, we avoid having to encounter the Gamorrean, which could make us lose our helmet, which we need to blow up that silver Lego object. So going to be using this lever to close the hatch so that no more Gamorreans spawn. Also going to be using the Force just to keep them off Leia while she lowers these gates. Here's another little 1P2C section. I'm going to be trying my best to kill these Gamorreans and also force this object. Because we need this little platform to access the little hatches with both R2-D2 and C-3PO sorting. I'm just going to be jumping into them so that these little platforms get lowered. I can use 1P2C just to activate these at once. Oh! Pressed the wrong button there. Meant to force push R2 by using the forces loop. So I pressed the force button for R2 instead, which just blows him up. I'm gonna switch to Chewbacca here and hold this so that no Gamorreans get spawned from there. And also push these because we need these for the progress level. And the spider that you saw just there is also going to be very useful. Seems like it's heading our way as well, which is very, very good actually. Doesn't always. I'm just gonna let Chewbacca jump on the spider. Also going to wait for the Gamorreans here because these can interfere with Luke's AI, and I don't want them to do that. Just going to drop Luke out, and he should be following Chewbacca up here. which means that we can destroy this object and build this. And we're going to be using the force here to put the spider out of bounds, like so. You can simply drop out player 1. And by carefully navigating this out of bounds space, we can actually skip to a transition, skip a significant part of this. We're simply going under here and jumping into this sewer gridding. And by doing so, we skip that entire section and then straight into the Rancor room. Pretty big skip. You can also prematurely hit those bombs just to damage the Rancor. Going to simply be forcing this Gormoyan to prevent him from moving away from the Rancor. And right at the end here, I'm going to pull both levers and then drop out our second player. Just because of how we play the beginning of our carkoon. That's Rebel's Palace for you. Pretty broken level, but it's also quite difficult to do, so pretty happy with that. So coming up is the next level, the Pit of Carkoon. And since, well, my name happens to be Carkoon, you might wonder how I got that username. So, about a year ago, I joined the LEGO speedrunning community through the Complete Saga, because there was a summoning solve video that released around that time. And since I was practicing that run and happened to catch some streamers playing it, namely We Super, also quite known LEGO speedrun in the community, I decided I'd pay him a visit by creating an account with the username Carkoon, because Carkoon is quite disliked among the Complete Saga runners because of one trick named Disco Skip. Now, luckily, Disco Skip is 100% consistent in this game with the proper setup, so I shouldn't be having any issues with it, but in TCS it is completely random. Well, not quite, but it's very hard to get consistently because it's so precise. And the building is slightly different in that game compared to LEGO Star Wars 2, which makes it fairly inconsistent. So I just wish him good luck in his chat, and that's how I got the name. So I stuck around with it. Go. And right here I'm going to be doing a trick similar to what I did in Zy's Spaceport, by simply sending player 2 ahead with the transition to try and get some damage on Boba Fett. Which speeds up the fight a bit. Going to be switching to Luke here. Jumping across. Unfortunately getting killed here, so I failed to kill the enemies earlier, but that's fine. And while we're at it, we're also going to call in Chewbacca, because we want to pull 2 levers at once. One right where Chewbacca is standing. And that's because with a proper lineup here, I'll be able to actually jump across this like so. Alright, we split off slightly, but that's fine. Right, I think that jump was a bit early. We're trying to get an edge jump here by simply lining ourselves up right. And that was still a bit too early. Alright, we're really close. Alright, I actually got boosted by the Blaster there, I think, which really helped. But you don't need to get boosted by the Blaster shots there to make it. Just gonna take a death there and finish that puzzle. We can be using this to open up the door and clear out all the enemies. Also need to destroy this object over here and force that as well. Build a C3PO panel, which will let our second player use. And we're also going to line Luke up so that he gets pushed up to the next part of the room. And this is Disco Skip, and we're just gonna put Chewbacca in the corner here while he walks up, and wait just until the last buildable there, and just like that we get popped out of the wall and we can simply jump to the other side. And as I mentioned earlier, Carkoon is also the first level where we actually get to use self-destruct. You did see me accidentally self-destruct R2 in Jabba's Palace, but this is the first time where I'll actually be intentionally using self-destruct here. So normally, you would have to push a couple bombs like we did in Spaceport, and also use the C3PO panel there to disable these barriers. But simply by using self-destruct and flying into these barriers, you can simply blow them up without having to disable the barriers and use a cannon at the very back of the ship. That's also the end of Carkoon. Can't forget about the droids either. Alright, and that leads us to Speeder Showdown. This is probably one of the shorter levels in the whole speedrun. If you're at all familiar with either the complete saga or perhaps this game in particular, then you'll know that this is a level with a very long section where you need to chase these troopers and shoot them and go for different sections with barriers. But in the speedrun, we have a skip that skips all of that, which will be coming up shortly. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop on the speeder, and our second player will follow us. We're simply going to head towards this barrier here, follow in our second player, flip around, drop out, and we should end up on the other side, and go through. Skip the entire section where we have to chase after these speeders, which would normally take several minutes. We can also just use a Jedi Slam there to get up. And now we're at the final run level. Oh, I did miss that lever, but that's fine. And just pull that there. Gonna jump into the vehicle here and destroy all of these radio towers. I did accidentally pull that a bit early. Normally you're supposed to pull that right as you jump out the loop, while the ADSD is moving towards the right, but that's fine. It's not a big time loss, it's just a minor optimization. That marks the end of the Speeder Showdown, so you can probably tell it was quite a short level. Largely thanks to the speeder skip that we did at the beginning. Alright, and to start off Endor, we're just going to be switching to RTD2 here, because we can just use them to slide up these poles and fly across. You can do the exact same thing here by simply landing on here, which eliminates the need to do any puzzles. Going to switch to Han here as well, because we're going to need to shoot a couple things here. We also have a couple of grapples here that we want to take care of, so that no enemies spawn. We can switch to Wickets and let him use the hatch here while we push this object. We can use the lever here. And another line. Tried to line Han Solo up there to get some depth movement. Went a bit early, didn't quite get a lot of depth movement there, but that's fine. And you also did see me jump off the button right as I activated it, and that's to get something called Ghost Hearts again, because that really helps here in Endor with dealing with a lot of the enemies. Just going to make sure that everyone in that party follows this as well, because it's going to be crucial for the buttons coming up here. I think they're going to shoot these troopers, take care of them while so that they aren't an annoyance. And build a seafood fuel panel. Switch to Wicket. Let Han second button. Let them decide which button they want. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build this ramp so that C3PO and R2 can go up it to go on the buttons. I'm also going to also drop out Han Solo there, so that he can up here quicker and build this grappling platform. And since rockets are on the button, the AI is going to pathfind to the buttons. Which means we can just go right in ahead without having to wait for them. Also going to switch to R2 here and drop him out. And drop him right back in here. So he can use self-destruct to blow up these barriers. Gonna drop him out again. Just drop him in just a bit further, then could actually be able to move a bit faster. Just gonna keep jump rolling. Might have to shoot this trooper, just so he doesn't interfere with building, but it doesn't seem like we had to. And just like in the complete saga, if you simply go up here, the AI will typically jump across here, which means you can do this part of the puzzle. Simply drop this down to get a couple fillable blocks for the R2 panel, so that you can head straight into the door. Now this is going to be the last section of Endor, where we have to activate a bunch of buttons here to unlock this final room ahead of us. Gonna head to the left first. I'm going to switch the order here. Didn't quite activate all buttons there, but oh, that's actually really convenient. Managed to switch player 2 to C3PO, which is exactly what we need. Very convenient. We'll be pushing this power strip, or whatever it looks like, and then drop in C3PO way over to the right. That was not quite what I intended. So we're just going to be pushing him up here. Ideally he'd drop in, but right where we want them to be, right by the panel, but it doesn't always happen. Gonna switch to Leia here, or Chewbacca, that would also work, and use this lever. Now we're gonna head on to the right side, which is the last side we need to activate the lever on. You can see it right or left there. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna move Leia over, like so, so that Wicket actually drops in here, which means we can use the lever ourselves. Alright, I forgot, there's one more, but it's on the right side here. We just need to activate this R2 panel. And we're just gonna let Han build this little bridge for C3PO to walk over. Which means we can let Han Solo pull this last one. Once we've activated all those levers, we can just activate the final two here. And build these last objects to blow up this space. I'm gonna drop out player 2 again. And that marks the end of Endor. Alright, and coming up is the shortest level in the game, Jedi Destiny. where Darth Vader and Luke face off against the Emperor, Darth Sidious. And normally this is actually quite a long level, having lots of phases with the Emperor where you have to move around the map and kill guards and interact with a lot of objects and such. But there's a skip that we're going to be doing here called Ultra Kill, which allows us to simply push the Emperor into the pits, and for some reason that just works, though it is canon, so... For some reason, the Emperor doesn't have the trigger that just allows him to jump right back up after he's pushed into a pit. Some bosses have that, but the Emperor does not. So we're just gonna do this and push him in. Although unfortunately I didn't quite push him properly there, but we still have a couple tries. Just going to be doing some safety slashes here by simply slashing while not holding a direction. You can simply be stunned a bit, and there you go. That's Ultra Kill for you. So that's the level. It's just a matter of pushing the Emperor into the pit, and that's it. Alright, and with Jedi Destiny done, that means we're on the last level of episode 6, which is Into the Death Star. Which is when they're going to blow up the Death Star for a second time. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can skip here, so we're gonna have to play this mostly casually. So the level opens with a couple of chips that we need to blow up, looking your torpedoes for, and unfortunately, the torpedoes here are RNG, so can't really dictate whether they'll spawn or not. We're just gonna have to do our best and hope we get most of them in a reasonable amount of time. Definitely difficult though. Oh, interesting. Seems like one of our torpedoes blank, meaning it didn't hit the target at all. That's unfortunate, but hopefully we get our torpedoes back. Just need one more to blow up one more ship. There we go. Now we're just gonna wait for a cutscene. This is gonna take us into the Death Star's core. But we'll have a couple other things to blow up as well, the torpedoes. You see the torpedo dispenser here, we're just gonna collect all we can. And blow up the torpedo targets coming up right here. Also didn't have any blanks, that's nice. Gonna collect a couple torpedoes here as well. You only need one, but it's always good to have. So now we need at least 2 here for this section, and then the last one just to blow up the core. Hopefully all these hit. Fortunately, 1 blanked. Hopefully it won't here. There we go. Now we have safety with having at least 1 torpedo on the second player. We're just gonna shoot all of these things here. Shooting them can be kind of tricky because you can't get too close, otherwise they get zapped and you can't shoot them at all. Sometimes they'll close on you as well. And unfortunately, I can't quite want to see this either because I think it can be quite difficult since these 2 ships drift at different speeds. Making it very difficult to control them both at the same time. And so now that we've blown up the core, we're just going to be making our way out. And trying not to die. Unfortunately, we did hit one of the pillars there, which did lead to us dying, but not a real issue. Did hit another one there. Sometimes they can be pretty hard to avoid. That's the end of ITDS, so we're just gonna watch the end cutscene here. The Death Star blowing up. Flowers. And just like we did at the end of episode 4, we're also going to reset the game. Just let it save first, for safety. And that means that we're going to be heading into the rest of episode 5. And the next level that we'll be doing is Echo Base. And right before I head into Echo Base, I'm just going to re-enable all the extras we had before, because they do turn off after you reset the game. Just gonna start off by jump rolling here on so that we can trigger this to fall down. There are a couple of troopers here as well that we need to kill. I'm gonna build this radiator and shoot it with blasters so it heats up. And head on straight for to the next room and beeline for this heater as well. Push him into place. And also hit Han a little bit so that he can reset his hearts for this next set of troopers. Now normally if we didn't have self-destruct, we'd need to build that little turrets and shoot the wall with it. But since we have self-destruct, we actually don't need to. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab C-3PO and simply put here so that he can warp in. He can actually use these panel through that and then simply blow himself up so that we don't need to shoot down the barrier. And now we're gonna be killing the rest of the stormtroopers in this room as well. You can also simply push C-3PO up there by jumping into him. Let's use self-destruct here. So we don't need to go get another cannon. Oh, unluckily Leia fell into the pit there. That's fine. Coming up here we have a set of buttons that we also need to hit. Using 1PTC, we can make sure we hit all of them without having to go back up. Alright, that's fine. And simply hit the... Oh, that's quite bad actually. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back up again, because normally if you hit all 5 buttons, then obviously you don't have to go back up, but if you manage to miss the last button, then you can actually still just use Han's jump roll in order to get back up there. So that's fine. Slight time loss, but it's alright. Just going to be pushing this box into place and stuff with Han first so that C-3PO doesn't head towards that button. Because usually it gets stuck while doing it. Means you have to push a bit. Also just going to be killing these stormtroopers and building this turret, because we can't actually use self-destruct here. Probably could, but I think it's slower. Also by precisely jumping there, you can get on top of a Millennium Falcon and build that thing, and then let Leia walk into the transition, which ends the level. Alright, and with Echo Base done, we'll be moving into Falcon Flight, which has probably one of the coolest skips in my opinion, and also one that I found a setup for. Which I'll mention when we come to it. But for now, we're just gonna have to take out a couple turrets on top of these ships, which I'm going to 1P2C just to make it easier to hit all of them. Also means I don't have to mash on player 1, which is quite nice. And even though we don't need it, we can simply just head over here and grab the red brick. For no reason really, but if you're ever trying to 100% this game or the complete saga, then at least you know the red brick's there. Now, while there is a cheat for us to get infinite torpedoes, sadly the route for this is slower in LEGO Star Wars 2 because of where it is. Normally in the complete saga, 90% you would actually grab infinite torpedoes because it's in the last room of Enter the Death Star. But because it's in the beginning of Jedi Destiny, which you need a Sith character for, it would actually be slower to re-enter and get infinite torpedoes from there. So we're just gonna have to make do without it and collect our own torpedoes. Unfortunately, I think this is RNG as well, so it'll be quite difficult to get them. Right, we got enough for both players. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to skip this boulder. We're not going to destroy it at all. So I'm going to line player 1 up here and try and get up here. But okay, that was quite early, but that actually ended up working somehow. That was not quite how I envisioned it to go, but by doing some precise things there, you can actually manipulate the camera and make this a lot easier on keyboard, which I'm actually using for player 2. Normally you would use a controller. Oh, never mind. This is actually quite bad. I'm not quite sure how... Actually, never mind. That's backup. This is not quite something I've done before. Normally you would actually complete that out of bounds and hit the transition from behind that rock, but you can simply reload that room to get player 1 in there. This does, however, mean that doing that second to skip the boulder was kind of unnecessary, because normally you'd want to save these torpedoes for this boulder here. But I'm sure we'll make it work. Sadly, we don't have any torpedoes from here, otherwise we'd be able to grab that last torpedo target that we need to shoot. Never mind, there's one more. Not quite getting in our torpedoes, sadly. So that means we're gonna have to wait a little longer. But that marks the end of Falcon Flight. And with Hack and Flight done, that means we'll be moving on to Dagobah, where Luke learns to use the Force from Yoda. Though we won't actually ever get to see that happen, because of a skip that we'll be doing. So to begin with the level, we'll simply be dropping out our second player, because we won't need R2 right now. All we need is Luke. And just like we did in Rescue the Princess, we're just going to be using his jump to get across this section. Though nowhere nearly as precise. And now I'm going to be going for Dagobah button skip, because even if it seems like you actually have to build these, have to raise these platforms that you would normally do, you can actually just jump across. Though it seems like I'm not quite going to be saving time with it. I would love to show it off, but as you can see, normally you'd have to raise these, but you can actually still jump there. And do a full one player to controller section there. Just for the sake of safety and not having to spend too much time on it, I'm just going to be moving right ahead. And once again, I'm going to be dropping player 2 out and jumping back up here and call in again. And that actually skipped the trigger that would normally activate the cutscene for Yoda showing up, and also for training Luke to use the Force. But we can skip that entire section by doing that. And we can also use R2 to fly across. And because we have self-destruct, we actually don't need any blast balls to destroy this. We can just use R2 self-destruct, like we used many times throughout the run. So we're going to be calling Yoda in, and also switching player 2 to Luke. Just for the sake of character management, so that player 2 doesn't drop in his R2-D2. Just going to be doing some jumps across here. And coming up is lag strat actually, like we did at the beginning of Death Star Escape. We're just going to be hitting Darth Vader 2 times, so that he ends up there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to force this and simply Alt-Tab to try and create some lag, so that Yoda gets pushed out. Seems like I'm not quite lining up properly. So we're going to try this a couple times. Nope, not quite lined up properly. Well, that was close. Just get pushed up a bit more than normal. He's still just getting pushed up. We want them to get pushed through that wall. Not quite happening right now, though. There we go. See that Yoda gets pushed through? That lets us skip that entire fight. We're also going to switch Luke to R2. and drop the player out again. And by forcing this little bridge, we can ensure that the AI actually allows R2 to get to us. And because Yoda movements is slightly faster, we can simply just use R2 to blow up the barrier again and force the Millennium Falcon to end the level. And we use Yoda specifically because Luke isn't quite able to force the Millennium Falcon up yet. He hasn't quite learned how to master the Force yet. And with that, we're probably going to be moving on to what is the most broken level in the entire speedrun, which is Cloud City Trap. Now, if you're familiar with the Summoning Salt video that details the history of the complete saga 80% run, then you'll know that this level has skips for every single room in the game, or in the level. And LEGO Star Wars 2 is no different. What we're going to do is we're going to skip this room in fact by simply using R2 to fly around here and fly into the wall, like so. And since we have self-destruct, we don't need to worry about the barrier either. We can simply blow it up. We're also going to use R2 to blow up these stormtroopers because we don't want them in the next room. And simply by going through this transition, you'll see that Luke is with us again. We're gonna let R2 fly over to the transition, or to the trigger, while we use the lever here to get our stormtrooper helmet that we'll need for later. And by letting R2 stand on these stairs, it'll simply return Vader to the center of the platform, so you won't be able to... Ooh, that was almost really bad. I did a force jump there, which could have potentially resulted in me popping into the pit and having to re-grab the Stormtrooper helmet, but we're fine. And here we're going to do a super jump by simply setting R2's position to that place where I just stood, right by the panel, and by forcing him at the right time, we'll actually be able to get him to force through the wall and do some out-of-bounds movements. I'm also going to pause buffer this just to make it a bit easier, though I am having a bit of issues with it. Unlucky. Should be getting this soon though. There we go. And so we're just going to be careful not to pop back in bounds. And what we can do is we can simply slide up this geometry here. And because the transition's just about right here, we can fly into it, though I was positioned a bit wrong there. But it's fine, because we can retry it. Just hold upright, and we'll just pop straight back in. So that's DB2, as it's referred to. And here we have a fairly difficult jump with about 3 frames of leniency, which is called DB3. This might take a couple attempts, but if it's done right, it'll skip this entire section as well. And there we go, fair try. We have a couple of other jumps just to finish off this section, DB4. You can simply jump off that panel as well. And just slash invaders 4 more times, and that ends off the level. And since we're done with the Cloud City trap, that also unfortunately means that we only have 1 level left. Which will be Bespin. Just gonna let the cutscene play. Alright, just gonna beeline towards this wall here, so that we can use a lever. Just slowly gonna move towards Boba Fett here. And try and get some shots off run. Go. Just going to be moving through here and killing a couple troopers. We want to kill these troopers as well. And Boba Fett seems to be moving in the right direction. We want him to be about there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to set out for a super jump, just like we did in the previous level. Simply going to be carefully navigating here to make sure that Lando's spawn point is all the way back there. Just going to be pushing him. And you should get stuck in the door and we can simply go straight into the transition. And now we're going to be doing a slightly difficult jump here to stay out of bounds and also get under this door over here that we'd normally need to activate using a panel. The C3PO panel you saw over there. Just gonna kill these. And also this trooper as well. And then use the Stormtrooper helmet dispenser. Which means that we're gonna fold these Stormtroopers into believing you were one of them. And just walk straight on through and use this panel over here. I'm going to be switching these players, just because I'm more comfortable with doing this platform this way. So we're just going to be shooting a bunch of these Stormtroopers. Until this buildable grapple platform lowers. Just going to be grappling across with both players. One of them goes into this magnet and grabs R2-D2. places him down here. And Leia can pull the lever to lower this elevator. Just to make R2 move slightly faster, we're going to be pushing him with Leia. Let him activate the panel so that these platforms get raised. And here we can actually push R2 through the wall and let him end up on the other side. So we're going to do that. Like so. Simply drop out player 2 now. What I'm going to try to do here is actually do another lag strat. What you can do is you can actually activate this R2 panel early. Normally you'd have to pull 2 levers and through the right in order to raise a bridge, as you see here. But if you're precise enough, you can simply fly across here and lag the game a couple times so that you actually slide up, if lucky enough. Seems like I'm not quite being lucky. In which case I'll simply do the other routes. Seems like I'm not quite being lucky. Doesn't seem to be letting me move up, which is unfortunate, but alright, unfortunately we can't quite get that to work, so we're gonna have to do this the normal way. Would have been nice to show that off, but here we are. We're simply going to be stepping on these buttons and pulling the levers, and then that'll end off the run once we've killed all the stormtroopers and enter the Millennium Falcon. So that's going to raise the platform. So I'm just going to let Leia sit there though, while R2 moves over here. Normally you would simply use R2 to fly over there and lag so that it can slide up and do self-destruct. But that's time. 149.23 RTA. Still pretty good for a marathon showcase, and I'm really happy to be able to have shown this off after the Kessel Run. Just gonna take this time to shout out the LEGO community. They're really cool. Really good people. You should definitely get involved in the LEGO Speedruns Discord. And yeah, thanks Retro Gaming Live for having me as well in the Kessel Run. Also shout outs to Antol for being the restreamer for today. Really happy. Yeah, I think that's about it for my closing remarks.